Recovering our hearts, a process that's deepened with time. There's a miracle on the soul level when I hear about people who are wanting to engage in discussions that are inappropriate for this place and time. This is what can happen sometimes when I'm on my own, in my own way, recovering aspects of who I am, or those who rode that ride with me, and they feel the need to let me know how much I'm loved, adored, and cherished, as well as you are, or who you are. Okay? So this isn't about saying people need to be me or anybody but me, correct? Do you know how many people are in that idea that I need to be somebody else's wisdom in order to be free of the pain of discovery of who I am? This is what we were dealing with in essence with Brenda's hearts, because we called the hearts those souls who are in their hearts and not just in their minds. Okay, we're in our hearts always connecting, but our minds are doing their own wisdom on the scene, right? Or on the soul level. This is what we assume. And it's true, when you're in this process of discovery of who I am as soul, it means that often we feel disconnected from those around us because we're still trying to protect ourselves from those who think they have it all figured out. Or those who are mistakenly thinking my thoughts don't actually affect those around me on the soul level. We're working things out. This is why you will see so many souls who will start to disengage from certain members of their family if their family members aren't letting them know, oh, I love you so much, I want to be with you all the time. This is where Brenda was, and she's like, I can't do that vision. I'm wanting to go out, have fun, be free and clear of those who are saying they need me to do something for them in order for them to feel the beauty of who they are. This is called dependency. So for those of you who are saying, I can't rise unless others adore me for who I am. That's beautiful, by the way, because it's true. We all want that connection. And Brenda said it in that way. The attraction of those who love to adore each other. The attraction of those who choose to adore each other. For some, it is a choice. For others, they can't help but love people. Okay? They set others free is where some are. And yet, we love who we are, whether or not you know it or not. This is the nature of what we say and what we do. We have the beauty within that tells us always that we're loved and adored. Others are utilizing their visions of channeling to guide those souls to another place where they themselves can free their minds from the need to be part of the discussion. Brenda knows how to do that work. But it's her soul's vision is, I'm just going to bring through the process of discovery for who we are. Okay? And that's part of it. Many are thinking it's a lone wolf syndrome, right? These are those souls that will often go off and say, I need to be alone in order to respectfully disagree with certain souls. Others are saying, I get triggered by my family or my friends or my coworkers or acquaintances on little things that make a big difference in my life. How many people understand the nuances of soul that she brings through that say this would be a no-brainer for someone else to say, oh my gosh, I keep wanting to hear from my mother on the soul level. And others are saying it gets old after a while. So what we do is we discover the nature of where do I place my focus on that vision. So this is why we say we're grateful for the love and adoration and soul wisdom that gets brought to us. That's where Brenda is. It's not always pleasant in my own way because I create a mountain out of a molehill. That's where Brenda was this morning. I created a hurdle that didn't need to be created. Do you see how the wisdom comes through with that? And that's when she says, I don't know how to unwind the hurdle. If I'm creating a place in my life where my own family tree is saying, I love you and adore you and I want you to take care of me forever. What does that say to someone else who's saying, my energy wants to fly free from those who are trying to control my life in their thoughts? I think you should do this because this is what I did for them, right? These are the patterns of discovery that Brenda's finding out for herself from her own vision of my family's about dependency on the females to caretake everyone else. When they get sick, when they rise up in that vision of my family is very much of the males are very caretaking in their hearts as well. We have a lot of souls who are of love of all. And many of them are starting to see the discrepancies in that idea of what does the recovery of our hearts mean? It means that we don't always just give in to the demands of those souls around us, right? It's not a demand. It is the vibration of need that many are working with. I need this in my life. I need you in my life in order to be free from the pain of who I was. That's where so many souls go with other souls on the soul level. And Brenda is one who's saying, please stop leaning on me for your wisdom, right? No, it's for her soul's redemption. This is what she had to go through. Someone else is saying, I can't be free unless you free me from who I am. Is that her job, to free you from the vision that you're creating for yourself? This is why you have to work through your energy. And you have to say, I love who I am and I know that they do as well, or she does as well. Whoever it is that's coming through loves who they are, but has not figured out yet that they keep trying to create a scenario of dependency upon them and vice versa. This is where codependency comes in with parents and child for the most part, right? Our parents are dependent on us at some point, potentially, to caretake them? Or did I create the scenario in my mind so that I didn't have to do the work in my heart that I knew that I needed to do? Was I ready to be a single woman flying free and clear of all those souls who say she no longer needs to caretake the visions of adults? Versus, my children are still children in my mind and I'm slowly breaking the bonds of dependency, not only of myself from them, but also from them from me. Do you see why this recovery is also an adulthood vision? We start to learn what we create with who and why. And when you feel free and clear in your mind, it's more like from your heart. You don't feel them as needy or as dependent. They just come with the wisdom. And this is what you want to understand. When you're in the vibration that my family tree is the only thing that matters and that's where I'm aiming when I cross over, you're going to get a certain level of understanding that is not necessarily the best for everyone here. Is that the highest wisdom that we have? Is our family tree? We grant them the honor, but do they actually have the higher levels of love of all that they thought that they had? It's in their hearts, right? Most will deny that they ever even thought about that vision other than I was with someone who had that vision already in his mind and was able to do that work. He granted himself the beauty of his soul and he said, that's who I am. That's that message. I granted myself the beauty to do the work that Brenda is on the road of achieving. She just doesn't want to do it with her mother yet. Because what that means is that soul who's creating from that place of, I love you, but I want you to sit there and depend on me, and vice versa, means that Brenda has to go through the vision and look at it through a different lens. It's not dependency, need. If it's actually needed, we may have to create a situation we say, okay, how do we go through those bonds of friendship or of love for our families and say, they need me, therefore I'm there for you, right? But what does that take from her? So that's that give and take vision. When you go through the process of discovering or recovering, that's the difference. The process that Brenda's bringing forth is about the discovery of who we are. And in that process, some of us lose souls along the way who we thought we treated right in their moments, but they say, no, you did not. Or those that we came into contact with and we didn't align with in various ways in our minds, most often just in our minds. And our souls are saying, you're connected in the soul level, you just don't know it yet. These are also those forward projection loved ones that come to us and say, I'm with you in your heart always. Brenda has a soul with her in her heart who she knows as a loved one who doesn't dare tell her what he's dreaming of, right? Or what he sees for her. Because he knows that sometimes he's hurting her in the vision of, I'm not there yet with you. I'm not ready for you yet. These are those souls that eventually come into the wisdom of who they are as a couple. And those souls are creating on the soul level. And they have that vision of, it's an adored field of vision. These are our hearts that are coming to us often on this realm. And those are those ideas of soulmates that many want to play out in those visions. Others will just say we're recovering our hearts. Those that we freely give our hearts and minds to. Because it's not just about the soul level, it's also about what feels good for me here, right? We want people to remember that this is a place of joy for many of our hearts. Some of us have to wait another lifetime, is what some would say. I realize I'm not on the same page as my loved one from my past. And you say, yeah, we had that moment and it was a beautiful moment, right? Not many in this plane are still thinking that there's just one person for them only and that view is forevermore eternal. It is an eternal love often, but that's the nature of who we are. It's just from a different place of love and attachment. It's a much stronger bond because as souls we create from the bonds of love and friendship. And that's the difference between those who are saying, I love you, but I can't be friends with you. We're not friends towards each other, right? I love you, but we hate each other. Do you know how many people ride that dynamic with their loved ones, right? We can't get along. We can't even talk, or we can't even communicate. Why did we do this? Why did we, hate each other? And it was to show others that often those issues are coming to the forefront, saying, this is what we're creating on the soul level, and we need to create the wisdom that helps us heal the bonds of time often. The wisdom of love is what many are working with. Either it's there or it's not, is where some are. Brenda knows when her heart's with her. Brenda knows when she's with her loved ones. She knows it because she gets the sensation in her heart. And it's the warmth and love and adoration of it. It's an emotional time for her when she feels it. Because it's basically the safety bonds of friendship is where she's at now on this plane. How many people ride that ride their whole lives? We're good friends and we love each other and we take care of each other. And then there are those that say, we come together in peace, prosperity, health, and love. And then there are those that say, I just want to have a good time and I'm happy where I'm at. How many people want to be free to experience their own soul's vision and love who they are, express who they are, be who they are, and never look back? And Brenda was being brought back to those souls that were of pain, but they were her pain to redeem. She had to come to peace with her past. She had to come with peace granted to her, is what they said. So we want you guys to unwind the vision that there's any redemption needed for most of us on this plane. Many of us are just beautiful as we are, and we adore each other. That's that level of love where I love who I am and I know you do too. I know you love who you are. I just can't express it in the ways in which you want me to. That's where Brenda is with many men. I don't love you in that way. It's not the connection of the mind that many are looking for. Our souls may create beauty together, but it doesn't mean that we have that instantaneous connection, right? So when we go to that idea of romantic love, that's a very different kind of vision of our hearts. But it's very much a big, big process for a lot of us because they tend to be our pair bondings. We could call them pair bondings instead of soulmates, because that's where Brenda was having trouble, because so many souls will say, oh, I was a part of your heart, but not your mind. And that's the nature of where then others will come in and say, oh my gosh, and people who are famous understand that nature of, oh my gosh, I love them, I adore them, I'm infatuated, I'm obsessed or whatnot. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I don't want them thinking that there's some connection with me. Unless you experience some expression of love that guides you to that wisdom, don't start creating from the place that you have some kind of connection with someone that you don't actually know in this field. Right? I love who I am no matter where I'm at in my mind is where Brenda is, because she says, I know how to create from the place of love of all. It doesn't mean it's a romantic love. It doesn't mean it's a friendship even. It could be we just honor the vision or the field of vision of love of souls that are creating on this plane for us, and we see what we want to see. Many people just want to see the negativity of who she is coming through on the screen, right? Do you want people to create that with you? Do you know how hard it is to see her struggle when others around her are struggling in their own lives, or they are angered to the extreme on the soul button? There's a button vision. Okay, so basically what we want people to understand is that Brenda is riding this ride of love of all, but she doesn't portray it to everybody that she walks across this field of heavenly realms. But that's what it feels like when she's with her own soul's vision of what love is like. And it doesn't feel bad at all for most of us once we get there. We just have to remember that people around us have their own visions of how to be, and we don't have to entertain their visions as anything other than what they want. Or it's not anything less than. It can be, though. For those of us who ride the ride of soul, we tend to illuminate those around us who make us feel beautiful and wise and caring, and also those who struggle perhaps with their own expressions and say, I wish I could be adored for who I was. And we realize that people are at different paths and different parts of their journeys, doing different things as souls. Loving each other is what we do best. That's where Brenda's best friend is, right? We may not agree on certain ideals, such as religion and its interpretation on this plane, but we have our hearts together always, creating from a place of love of each other. And this is why Brenda knows that some of her messages can come across pretty strong, tough, on the institutions sometimes for what they brought through, instead of the love of all of us unconditionally from a plane of you're perfect as you are when you got onto this plane. That's the nature of why some are struggling. But we choose to agree to disagree about what impact that kind of vision may have for many. And others are riding those other waves of discrimination against others and whatnot. And that's why Brenda's saying it's the hardest thing to have access to certain fields of discovery of the truth or the wisdom of the moment, and then still see your loved ones participating in those acts. This is a very common theme. But what we want you to understand is they themselves have their own journeys to live. And if they're causing issues, you would just say, okay, this is an issue that they are participating in with them. And we rise out of the vision into a beautiful way of being that says, let's just let them be. Or we can say we need to take measures into our own hands, which others are, create the dynamics of communication always, and try to communicate our way into the beauty of who we are and say, I understand you don't understand me. But within that vision of love, I will always care for you from afar. That's where some people have to go with Brenda. I have to love you from afar because you're on your own path of destiny with others who love you. And that means that some of those friendships or those family members do in fact take a back seat and let her enjoy her life. Let her enjoy her journey, for she is wise and strong and of dignity always. And so with that vision, we want people to see for themselves how it feels to start to recover your own hearts and your soul's wisdom when you go through the process of soul discovery. It's the beauty of it and what you want to do with it. When you have those rough moments, you aim high and look back, is what most therapists are going to say. Look back and discover it and see it for what it was. Those are those moments that only your soul should be determining what you look back at, because we do not focus on the negativity of our past and keep creating from those moments. Our best job is when we can bring ourselves to the present moment and say, I love who I am, and I want you to discover more of who you are. If you're ready to do that vision, contact me, and I will let you know when my own program comes out. It's a self-discovery process that's illuminated by who we are as souls. You get access to information not only from my soul, but from your own soul at various points along the way. And with that, I want to say, be brave and bold. Be brave and bold in your discovery of who you are. And when people say that, they say, what does that mean? There's nothing to be afraid of other than your own ideas of how you were. And if you were saying, I created victims along the way, you might start to hear from them from that vantage point. But on our own discovery, in our field of vision with a loving soul, you will get the wisdom that is a higher level wisdom of what it is that you actually created within that vision. And it doesn't have to feel like a dynamic of victimhood. It doesn't have to feel like a dynamic of Jesus coming to save you. If you feel like you need to be saved from somebody, it's because you created that dynamic in the first place. Now, and that means that those who are in that vibration would say, I'll ride that ride because I know that soul has my back covered, right? Brenda's soul has always been there with her saying, I've got your back, honey. You don't need to worry about it. And that's why she trusts in her vision, because she always had access to her soul's vision, not somebody named Jesus. And so we want people to understand the differences in dynamics of love, right? And that's the vision of it. So if you have that vision that you need Jesus, you're going to create the vision that he's there for you, in essence. but it is a stronger soul level understanding to know what his value was in his moment, in his breath, versus the caretaking of the Bibles that have come through over space and time. So when people are doing their channeling of his information, if they're coming through with the wisdom of it as it was, then we would say that's still a very valid place to create from. It still has its moments of love, in essence, adoration for itself as well. What it doesn't do is it doesn't tell people that they're less than, and that's where Brenda has always been in her hearts. Never once saying, I think that you're less than me. I may have different ideas about who you are. Who you are meant to be is a different kind of vision. And that's why people are creating from a destination versus an experiential process that she creates from. We want people to realize that many people who he was working with were not able to create pleasant experiences for themselves. And that's why, if you are in the process of, oh, I have good days and bad days, then you can start to discover your journey from a higher level understanding and start to build upon the pleasant journey rather than the ecstatic journey that she was on at one point. It's not about saying I aim high and then go low. That's where a lot of people have their vision. And then Brenda says, oh, I know that vision. And it's hard. We have to give ourselves grace when we do that vision. We have to give ourselves a lot of love for those who are saying it's time to get off the screen, Brenda. It's true. Her soul's letting her know it's time to go. But in essence, I want you to be adored and loved and caretaken and challenged to a certain degree sometimes in our own beliefs that may be holding us back. And that's what we do sometimes. And so I'm going to also develop a new process. I'm not going to reveal it right now because it's very strong and it's not even something that Brenda has been able to find online. So she was checking it out. But anyways, it's about soul level understanding and a process in which we can develop a system that allows for a quick take on where am I in my dynamic? Am I in a certain level of empowerment, or am I in a certain level of soul? And that's where Brenda rises. She's like, I will give that vision away free for people to see how the dynamic came about for me. So, wisdom within, vibrate in it, figure it out, right? We're going to talk about that in the next episode. What that really means when you are portraying yourself in the vision of I love who I am, and yet you're hearing certain negativity within. That's a challenge that we work through and adore, because it means our own souls are coming through saying you need to massaging your ego. We massage our ego sometimes, but it's true. Your souls will say, we do have our ego boosts that we do on this plane, and there's nothing wrong with it. We all need to give ourselves a little boost every once in a while. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Be cheery, be wise, be soulful. Bye-bye.